And I don't want this to sound trite, but let me explain how bottoms are made in any market. I don't care if you're in equities or in debt or in crypto or in real estate. You always need a big player to go to zero.
Yes. Welcome back, everybody, to Altcoin Daily. My name's Austin. In today's video, I want to update you on the Celsius situation, a potential solution if you've used the platform, an update on Solana and the potentially over-leveraged whale wallet, as well as lower cap altcoin news, and of course, Kevin O'Leary's take on Bitcoin, on Ethereum, on the cryptocurrency market today. So, like always, check the timestamps down below, hit the like button, and let's jump in, starting with a recent interview with Mr. Wonderful on CNBC, speaking about how the cryptocurrency market is about to bottom, and we're beginning to see the signs of that capitulation. This is about a 90-second clip of Kevin speaking about these over-leveraged companies in crypto potentially about to get washed out, and that's good for the overall growth of the industry. Watch this.
Now, when you have a very volatile asset and you have the fortitude, I'm going to use that word, to use leverage to enhance your returns, you also run the downside risk of what happens when there's a major correction, as is occurring right now. You can get caught offside pretty quickly. And so Celsius, there's a good example of that. And I don't want this to sound trite, but let me explain how bottoms are made in any market. I don't care if you're in equities or in debt or in crypto or in real estate. You always need a big player to go to zero. That always helps, whether it's long-term capital or whether it's one of these crypto infrastructure companies. I would like to see, and I don't want this to happen, but it always gives you a good bottom when you get a large player over-levered that goes to zero. And that always tends to be the beginning of the rebuilding process. So if you have to sacrifice someone who used too much leverage, and it's always leverage that does this, somebody's over-levered, positions are complicated, they're not transparent, they're not liquid, and they go to zero. Someone is out there on the brink of zero. That's okay. In fact, I'd argue that's a good thing when we get it. Now, do we get it this week? Do we get it next week? Someone's going to zero. I don't know who, but it'll be great for everybody else that survives because everybody will learn from that. And that's what I like about a washout, an event. And I think we're due for one in crypto land.
Okay. Very interesting perspective. And I do just want to point out that Celsius or Three Arrows Capital are not officially insolvent yet. That's just the rumor. We will talk more about this later in today's video. But what Kevin is saying is that in any market, stock market, crypto, whatever, in any market, the companies that take on more risk don't necessarily practice good risk management, get washed out, and that usually marks a bottom, potentially. And moving forward, the final 90-second clip of Kevin that I do want to share with you are what are the takeaways from me? What should the average investor be doing right now? Buying more, sticking to the high caps, maybe just hodling? Well, Kevin is sticking to the high caps. Here's his strategy for 2022, as well as the end, his thoughts on Celsius. Watch this.
Are there any takeaways for retail investors who are looking to buy the dip and add to their portfolio? Any categories of cryptocurrencies they should be looking at? Anything that they should be wary of?
I think right now, if you're, licking your wounds, go to the large cap projects. I mean, the Ethereum, Bitcoin, obviously Polygon, Solana. Polygon's been slaughtered, and it's a good project. Great opportunity to add to it. I have very big positions in these names, and I've been nibbling as well. There's nothing wrong. The one thing I would tell everybody is you can't pick the bottom. It's impossible. You have no idea when it's going to happen. But if you're staying long the category, you need diversification. I have so many different positions on right now, and they're all over the map. Now, come year end, what will happen, because this is a year where we're going to be looking at tax returns on all crypto trading and income, there'll be a lot of maneuvering on the projects that did not recover to take them as tax losses versus the ones that did. And that's going to be the nimbleness of trading. And that's why it's important to look at your positions and make sure you have liquidity in them, because most of these projects are very, very liquid, so it's not a problem. The Celsius thing, well, that's a gate. That's not good. So that will not end well. And when you lock the gate in a hedge fund, basically, you upset a lot of investors, and when they get the opportunity to sell, they do with a vengeance. Never good to do this. Can't help them, but they didn't understand the situation, I guess. But there'll be some money lost there.
Okay, very interesting. Essentially, like many of us, he's saying he's long-term bullish. Anything could happen short-term. Next up, what about Bitcoin? Well, Bitcoin dead Google searches hit a new all-time high, meaning that sentiment in the crypto community is so low right now, it's leading to fresh speculation that BTC is a dying asset. So here is that visual. And as you can see, it hasn't finalized yet, meaning it could always get bigger potentially, but those were the searches as of this weekend. Well, as Warren Buffett says, be greedy when others are fearful, and we have a lot of new whole coiners taking advantage of this fear. Bitcoin mints more than 13,000 whole coiners in the past 7 days, as well as small wallet addresses, those containing 0.1 Bitcoin or more, continue to accumulate Bitcoin at rapidly increasing rates. So that's the silver lining. So many people that couldn't afford a whole Bitcoin back at 69,000, 50,000, whatever, finally able to be a whole coiner. And next up, what's happening with Celsius? Celsius recovery plan proposed amid community-led short squeeze attempt. So a company called Bank to the Future co-founder Simon Dixon has proposed a recovery plan similar to the solution offered to Bitfinex after its Bitcoin hack in August 2016. Now, just so you know, Simon Dixon and his company, this is a Celsius lead investor, and he was very much a part of that recovery attempt back then in 2016. Here was his exact tweet. I'll read it to you here. I believe traditional finance will not have a timely solution for Celsius, as we saw in the past with Mt. Gox, that still remains unsolved 10 years later. I believe this can only be solved with a solution using financial innovation like what we did with Bitfinex that was resolved within 9 months and worked out very well for depositors. So what was this solution that worked so well back then? Well, Dixon's plans for Celsius takes inspiration from his firm's solution in August 2016 after Bitfinex announced it lost approximately 120,000 Bitcoin in a cybersecurity breach, causing a loss of around $72 million of customers' funds at that time. And how did they solve this? Rather than pursuing liquidation proceedings, Bitfinex instead came up with an innovative recovery plan, which involved promises to pay in the form of BFX tokens to customers, representing the value of money lost in the hack. Now, these BFX tokens, were tradable on the open market or could be held later for a future repayment of $1 per token, and effectively allowed customers to speculate on the company's recovery. So they said, we'd give you these tokens, which you could sell immediately if you wanted, or you could hold them later to be redeemed for $1 if you're betting that Bitfinex will recover successfully. So this was the big part of the Bitfinex solution, but also later in the month that year, Bank to the Future added to the solution by working with Bitfinex to allow customers to convert their BFX tokens into equity in the company. Around 7 months later, Bank to the Future reported that the plan had been working with victims recovering between 75 to 100% of their funds through various measures available to them. What do you think about this? In my mind, if I lost all my Bitcoin in an exchange hack and they offered me exchange tokens as compensation, I don't know, I'd want my Bitcoin back. Also, applying this to Celsius specifically, I don't know how many people would be eager to take equity in the Celsius company or more Celsius tokens, but you tell me, is this a viable solution? Let me know down below your thoughts on this. And by the way, Dixon did not confirm whether his recovery plan for Celsius would work the same way with a token, only that it would be solved using similar innovative methods. We will see. I will keep you updated. Next up, what about Solana? There's major things happening in Solana manipulation, centralization. We covered it in yesterday's video. The update today is they have taken a complete 180. Solana Lending DAO overturns vote to take over at-risk whale wallet, meaning Solend's controversial governance proposal to take over the DeFi lending protocol's largest wallet has been invalidated after a follow-up vote from the community. So just as a recap on what happened, a whale wallet had so much leverage, they were putting the entire protocol at risk. And the whale in question is the platform's largest user, who deposited 5.7 million SOL, accounting for more than 95% of all SolLens deposits, to borrow about $108 million worth of USDC and USDT. So he took out a major loan on the protocol, and he was at risk for liquidation. According to SolLend, if SOL, the price of SOL, dropped below $22.30, the wallet ran the risk of getting liquidated for up to 20% of its borrowing, or around $21 million. Anyway, the higher-ups, the developers, noticed this, and they did try and get in contact with that whale. They were unable to get the whale to reduce the risk or even get in contact with him. So they were going to take control of this individual's wallet themselves and make decisions for him. Well, they got such community backlash. By Monday, SolLend asked users to vote on a new proposal to overturn the earlier vote, which received an overwhelming 99.8 yes votes. In a direct quote from a co-founder, "We've been listening to your criticism about SolLend 1 and the way in which it was conducted," I guess the vote, "and the price of SOL has been steadily increasing, buying us some time to gather more feedback and consider alternatives." So they said, maybe we were acting a little rashly, maybe we shouldn't just overtake this guy's wallet and make decisions ourselves. But they will be looking for other options and making different proposals to solve this to the community. Next up, what's happening in lower cap altcoin news? Tomorrow, you will be able to enter Realm, which is the mobile-first, play-to-own metaverse, where you can build and explore virtual worlds beyond your imagination. So beta launch is happening tomorrow, meaning if you have a cell phone, you can start experimenting and enter Realm. All right, that is the video. My name's Austin. Like always, see you tomorrow.